Book of Heaven, Volume 34, May 20th, 1936. Difference that passes between one who calls the divine will into her acts and one who does good works without it. The Ascension, how Jesus departed for heaven, still remaining on earth. My poor mind continues to go around in the acts of the divine will, and I thought to myself, what is the difference between one who calls the divine will into her acts and those who do good works but do not call it, do not give it the first place in their acts? And my sweet Jesus, making me his short little visit, told me,
"My daughter, there is no comparison between the two. The first, by calling my will into her acts, strips herself of what is human and forms the void in her human will in which to give place to mine. And mine embellishes, sanctifies, forms its light within that void. Then it pronounces its creating fiat and calls to life its divine operating within the human. And the creature not only participates, but becomes the owner of the divine act, which possesses the power, the immensity, the sanctity, and the divine value that is never extinguished. Therefore, in one in whom our will reigns, we look and find our very selves and our own acts that honor us and form a crown around us. On the other hand, with those who do good works, but are not animated by our will, we do not find ourselves, but the finite act of the creature. And since we can't really keep anything of whatever good they may do, we give them the merit as recompense. A recompense is not a property that can always produce. Therefore, they are symbolized by those who live one day to the next, who, though they may get by with the salary they receive, never become rich. They have always the need to get paid for their work in order to live. And if they don't work, they are in danger of dying of hunger. That is, of not feeling the satiety of good, the life of the virtues, but rather the squalid misery of passions. On the contrary, for one who lives in our volition, everything is abundance. We say to her, take whatever you want, and as much as you can take. Even more, we place at your disposal our riches, our light, our sanctity, our love, because what is ours is yours, and what is yours is ours. There is nothing left to do than for us to live and operate together.
After this, I was accompanying the ascension of Jesus into heaven. How beautiful he was, all majesty, clothed with most refulgent light that enraptured and chained the hearts to loving him. And my sweet Jesus, all goodness and love, told me,
"My blessed daughter, there is not one trait of my life that does not symbolize the kingdom of my divine will. On this day of my ascension, I felt victorious and triumphant. My pains were now ended, or rather, I was leaving my pains, already suffered, in the midst of my children, leaving them on earth as help, as strength and support, and as the refuge for them in which to hide in their pains, in order to draw from my pains the heroism in their sacrifices. I can say that I left my pains, my examples, and my very life as seeds which, maturing and growing, would sprout the kingdom of my divine will. So, I left and I stayed. I stayed by virtue of my pains. I stayed in their hearts in order to be loved. After my most holy humanity would ascend into heaven, I felt more closely the bond of the human family. Therefore, I would not have adapted myself to not receiving the love of my children and brothers, whom I was leaving on earth. I stayed in the most holy sacrament in order to give myself continuously to them, and for them to give themselves to me, that they might find rest, refreshment, and the remedy to all their needs. Our works do not suffer any mutability. Whatever we do once, we repeat always. Moreover, on this day of my ascension, I received the double crown, the crown of my children whom I was taking with me to the celestial fatherland, and the crown of my children whom I was leaving on earth. These two, symbol of the few who would form the beginning of the kingdom of my divine will. All those who saw me ascended into heaven received many graces, such that all of them laid down their lives in order to make known the kingdom of redemption, and laid the foundations on which to form my church, so as to gather in her maternal bosom all of the human generations. In the same way, the first children of the kingdom of my will be few, but the graces with which they will be invested will be such and so great that they will lay down their lives in order to call everyone to live into this holy kingdom. A cloud of light invested me, removing my presence from the sight of my disciples, who remained as though ecstatic in contemplating my person, for the enchantment of my beauty was such as to keep their pupils enraptured, so much so that they were unable to lower them in order to look at the earth. In fact, it took an angel to stir them and have them return to the cenacle. This too is a symbol of the kingdom of my will. The light that will invest its first children will be such and so great that they will bring the beauty, the enchantment, the peace of my divine fiat in such a way that creatures will easily surrender to wanting to know and love so great a good. Now, in the midst of the disciples there was my mama, who was present at my departure to heaven, and this is the most beautiful symbol. Indeed, she is the queen of my church. She attends to her, protects her, defends her. She will then sit in the midst of the children of my will. She will be the engine, the life, the guide, the perfect model, the teacher of the kingdom of the divine fiat, which she so greatly cherishes. Hers are the longing, the ardent desires, the delirium of maternal love, for she wants her children on earth in the same kingdom where she lived. She is not content with having only her children in heaven, in the kingdom of the divine will, but she wants them also on earth. She feels that the task given to her by God, as mother and queen, she has not yet fulfilled, that her mission is not ended until the divine will reigns on earth in the midst of creatures. She wants her children to be like her and to possess the inheritance of their mama. Therefore the great lady is all eyes to look, all heart to love, to help whomever she sees, somehow disposed to wanting to live of divine will. So then, in the difficulties, think that she is all around you, sustaining you, fortifying you, taking your will into her maternal hands to let it receive the life of the supreme fiat.
Fiat.